we recording? As always, what's up, guys? It's Alex with ALP Entertainment with the co-host, as always, Luke. Luke, say what's up to people.
What up?
Guys, it feels good to be back. Apologize for the delay. We've been super busy. Holidays are coming up, vacations, family time. We got to take a break when we got to take breaks. It's just the way it is. It's all good, but we're back. We're here to talk Michigan State game. We're here to talk about the Maryland game. And as always, here to talk about Husker basketball because the season has started. So I know Luke was super pumped about that.
Yep, I missed the first game, but I was at the second game, and I'm super excited about this team.
I got to watch majority of the game of Michigan State. I got to watch half of the game of Maryland, so I had to go back and rewatch it. But I definitely got some key notes that I want to discuss with everybody. And let's just kind of dive into it. Personally, I thought we looked slow. We looked out of rhythm. I don't know if it's like what it could be, if it was just like we traveled bad, like what happened. And I just can't wrap my finger around why we looked so out of sorts. Like, I just don't understand it.
Yeah, we didn't have the energy that we've had the past couple of games. I mean, I don't know if it was a little chilly, I guess. There's an 11 a.m. game on the road, but Matt Rule's been talking about all season how he loves and he wants his team to love being on the road and being in a position like that. And they just didn't look like they were ready to play or had the energy to play. So I don't know what was going on.
There was a part of me that believes that it's because just like social media and like the territory comes with being in Nebraska of like the hype, right? Like we try to always get back to the 90s standard, even the early 2000s standards. Do you think that like the talk of a bowl game and bowl eligibility kind of, I wouldn't say hindered our like momentum, but do you think it like impacted the game in any way?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably a little bit. I know I like to think that we've kind of gotten over the mental hurdle of losing close games, or at least pretty close to getting over that mental hurdle. And so I don't know if maybe our players were relaxed thinking that Michigan State, they had the two scandals this year. They had their coach being fired for the sexual harassment deal, and then they had Hitler on their scoreboard a couple of weeks ago.
I forgot about that.
So yeah, their program's not in the best of shape right now, but that doesn't mean that they don't have good players. Michigan State's always going to have dudes, athletes, and so you would just hope that the coaching staff could outcoach all these interim coaches on the other side. But I don't know. The players didn't look ready, and I thought some of the play calling was a little suspect at times as well.
Michigan State came in with a 6-game losing streak, which is, I mean, to me, those players that are on a 6-game losing streak or even a losing streak, they come in hungry. They come in hungrier than normal, and I think like they are out to prove something, especially against like a surging Nebraska that has been making headlines of, Matt Rule's first year at Nebraska, and he's known for being a program rebuilder, and it's very obvious, but he came in and first year in, it's like, whoa, he's got 5 wins already. That's better than his past rebuilds statistically, where he's gotten 2 to 3, even 1 win. So I agree. I agree with my original statement before we aired of, I believe that like the hype got to the kids. I really do. I think that the hype got to them. I think that just the media is blowing it up out of proportion, and I think that that's the hardest hurdle for current coaching, just across the board, not just in Nebraska, where it's telling your team, like, just don't listen to that noise, like block it out. And obviously kind of what Matt Rule has already said this year is he's not going to tell them like, don't be on social media. That's just not the way it is anymore. I know that BK was telling me, and he's been on numerous episodes of podcasts telling the story of when he was on the team with Bo Pelini, and even Will Compton told this story on Bussin' with the Boys with Bo as the guest. So Bo told the team, like, get off of social media. Obviously, during that time, like, Facebook was still big. Twitter just came out. But Bo told everybody, like, delete your stuff, and I want to see it, like, off your phone. Well, I can't remember who tweeted it back in the day, but someone tweeted out something, like, after Nebraska game, Bo found it and made them run the start of a Sunday practice from like 7 a.m. till 9 a.m. He was like, you get 2 water breaks, and that's it. You pick when you want the water breaks. So, like, I don't think we need to go to that extreme extent. But I definitely do believe that social media is like hype, and especially like the news here in Nebraska is blowing this season out of proportion and putting too big of expectations on us. Like, I didn't expect 5 wins, in my opinion.
No, and that's kind of what I was trying to get at, was like they got over the mental hurdle of being in close games and overcoming that, but none of these players, even the super seniors, besides the transfers, have experienced being this close to making a bowl game. And so that's a whole nother hurdle that they have to get over, and they had a learning experience with Michigan State. But yeah, I think Matt Rule does a good job of keeping everyone, like you said, you can't not be on social media. You can't ask them not to be on social media. It's impossible. Especially just with Nebraska being under a microscope in this state, because there's literally nothing else to do. And so, especially the quarterback situation, like it's quite literally like a professional team. And so it could be tough for people to hear some of the criticisms and all the people saying things on social media, but Matt Rule does a way better job of keeping things in-house and people's emotions in-house than the previous coaching staff. So, I mean, that's just my opinion. But
yeah, I will say too that, like, sorry, I'm typing some stuff. I will say that too, that kind of to start the game, Michigan State converted on a lot of explosive plays. I think Michigan State converted on those explosive plays, and I know we obviously have the turnover every first quarter. I don't know if it's just pregame nerves, like we're making bad reads, like we're getting bad snaps, bad handoffs. Like, I don't know, like, how to fix those things. Obviously, I'm not a coach at that high of a level. I'm a coach at a high school, middle school level. I don't believe I could coach that level, in my opinion. But anyways, like, that's a mental hurdle, I believe, that is something that Rule and his staff is doing a good job of, is trying to eliminate that mental hurdle. I mean, look at Alvano, missed 3 field goals start of the year, and it came out and hit like a 47, and then he hit a 54, 55 the other day, the last couple weeks, where the next highest one in Nebraska history was Alex Henry at 58. So it's,
yeah, and he didn't even need to kick. We were in a position where we definitely could have just punted and kept playing it safe, but Matt Rule knew the psyche of his freshman kicker, and that being able to go out there and make that 55-yarder is definitely going to help his psyche, and it was pretty cool to see Matt Rule do that in game time.
I do also like, after Alvano made the kick, like, Matt Rule was like cheering for him, and is like took his headset off and was like literally smiling ear to ear, and was like clapping and was super happy for him and proud of him. So I agree. I think that's definitely like a big psychological pump that Alvano needed to get that confidence.
Probably even a psychological pump for the coaching staff, knowing that once you get into the 40, 45-yard line, it's pretty much automatic. Like, your kicker it's like a 9 out of 10 chance your kicker's going to get that. So that's good for an offense that sucks like we do and can't score a lot of points. You're going to need your kicker to be super dependable inside the 40.
Yeah, I mean, you remember last couple of years we struggled to find a kicker.
Yeah, we had to get to like the 35 to maybe make a kick. So
and at one point we got a soccer player, or an active soccer player, on the men's Nebraska soccer team to come and kick. And he kicked the game winner for us.
There was open tryouts. It was a whole thing. It was bad. Nebraska special teams used to be top tier, number one, A plus and everything, kicking, punting, and just special teams plays, and it's lacked the past couple of years. Now this year's a little bit better with Alvano finally hitting his stride. Buschini definitely had one of his worst games against Michigan State. In football, with the game of inches, especially with Nebraska, who needs every inch they possibly can get, you need your punter to do better. He was only averaging like 35 yards a punt. And then on the other side of the ball, we would fair catch it inside the 10-yard line, and that's just you're giving up free yards while you're doing that. If you're
Dude,
doing
the golden rule of punt return is if you're within the 10-yard line, let it bounce.
Yeah, the chance that the ball is going to bounce in the 10-yard line and not roll to the back of the end zone is so slim. And so just take that chance, because if you're going to put someone back there that's only job is to wave their hand in the air and catch the ball, no matter where they're at, like, you're doing a disservice to your team. And so
Coach Rule did talk about that in the press afterwards, like earlier this week, about how he feels bad. He's like, he took full responsibility and accountability for them fair catching so much.
They technically didn't want to burn Ethan Nation's red shirt, and at the end it just got so dire that they needed every yard or any big play they could possibly get to win the game, that they ended up burning Ethan Nation's red shirt, which I think is okay, because he came into the program to be a punt returner. That's like what he's really good at and specialized in. However, he's a freshman, and so you just got to be careful with that. But at this point, you'd rather have that than have someone fair catch it and not be able to run.
Biggest topic of the game, like topic takeaway of the game, was the penalties. Lack thereof is what a lot of people have been saying, especially the PI on Malachi, and then that face mask on Harburg, which was very obviously Harburg's head was sideways. That was the topic of the game. Like, and even, which is crazy to see, you normally see coaches try not to point the finger on the ref. I definitely don't try to do it on my team. It's just, from a morality standpoint, you don't want to point the finger at anybody. It's kind of like, hey, there's multiple reasons why we lost this game. I think it was kind of strange, in my opinion, to see Coach Rule like flat out say, yeah, the refs like screwed us.
I don't blame him, because the reason he got upset was two times this season they've had replayed reviews wrong. And there's no reason in hell, which they're calling someone down in like fucking Chicago or St. Louis or something like that to like get their opinion. But there's no reason to get that play wrong. You have infinite camera angles, you have slow motion, fast motion, like all these different things. And if it's obvious to the people at home watching the TV, like the ball touched the ground or he was over the goal line, which were the two instances in Nebraska's case this year, Minnesota, Michigan State.
I also just think, like, dude, take the time. Take the time as a referee staff. Like, take the time, officiating staff. Take that time to make that decision and get it right. Like, obviously, not every call is going to be 100%, but like, your best.
Reviews, you should be 100%.
Exactly. Like, take the fucking time. You have, like you said, you have the infinite camera angles, fast, slow motion. You could fucking see anything at any camera angle in that stadium. And the fact that they got those wrong, like I said, I'm not trying to point the finger at the refs, but like, from a review standpoint, it's clear as day. Like, take your time.
There's a difference between a ref looking into like a TV screen or camera and making a judgmental call versus the two things that have been wrong with Nebraska, where the play has gone to the professional site outside the state borders, where professionals are using all this technology to make sure they get it 100% right. And when it's obvious on the screen on your TV at home that what happened, and then they come out and say that it's the opposite, it's just kind of infuriating, because they're like, what's the point of instant review if you're just not even going to get it right?
I agree. I mean, dude, it's just like,
Dean Blandino even said it was an incomplete pass.
I will say, though, like I said, it was strange for me to see him like point the finger at somebody, but it also kind of made me like proud to be a fan and be like a native and just be like, yeah, dude, like, call them out for their shit. Like, let them know. And I obviously probably think he probably get not want to say a fine, but he probably got a nice letter from the Big Ten commissioner of like, hey, slap on the wrist, don't talk about the officiating team like that. But it's been notoriously known that Big Ten officiating is horrible.
Yeah, I mean, really, Big Ten for sure, but I mean, really kind of all around sports, it's been a topic in NFL, especially NBA recently. I mean,
dude, even like judging in mixed martial arts, like in UFC, is like a hot topic. So
yeah, it's kind of been a problem, an epidemic of poor officiating and what's what's rules and what aren't rules, and what's a catch, what's not a catch. I still don't understand how we don't know what's a catch and not a catch still.
Dude, I don't even know, and I don't
especially
want to know.
The roughing the passer shit too. That one,
dude,
infuriates me. They did just come out. The NFL released a video and sent to all 32 teams in the NFL, and it's like an example video of what is and what isn't roughing the passer. And almost every single video they have for their example does not look like roughing the passer, and it's just, I don't know.
I mean, at a college level, my big issue is targeting. Like, obviously, you don't want to go head hunting. Like, that's not the point. Never legal to crown your head. I believe that there should be levels to targeting. So, like, a level 1 targeting, obviously, we'd have to break it down to he hits you high shoulder, low neck, but it doesn't, like, you're not a defenseless receiver in a way. And it's just like an accidental hit where the receiver or the running back goes low to slide and you're already in midair. Like, you can't stop yourself in midair. You can't stop yourself in mid-motion. It's impossible. There needs to be levels to the targeting.
It's causing people to miss tackles too because they're not quite sure what they can and can't do. It's confusing for everyone.
They need to make levels to targeting. Like, level 1 is just like a 15-yard penalty. Level 2 is an immediate ejection, and like it should just be like that. So the immediate ejection, I understand, like, you have to sit out the next half of the next game, the first half. I agree with that. Like, yeah, it's your punishment for it, but also you can't, like, I mean, from a Nebraska history standpoint, like Nate Gary got ejected a couple times,
like 3 times, yeah,
like 2 or 3 times for quote targeting. It never was targeting.
No.
So, or even Kenny Bell's block in the Big Ten championship game where he literally blew that dude up. They called targeting on that.
Yeah, the blind side, yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of it's a difficult dance you got to dance with all these rules that are constantly changing and becoming more and more, or I guess less and less violent of a game, where they're making it safer, quote unquote. But
I'm trying to think of like some positives from this game. Like, yeah, losing sucks, but like you're always trying to find the positive and the negative and try to find the light in the dark.
Positives, I think, are O-line, especially for having 3, sometimes 4 new O-linemen, and they've only played a game or 2 games together. They're not looking that bad. And I'm just going to say, like, maybe they're not great, but us not talking about how bad they are means that they've made an improvement, and they're doing decently.
I would think that they've gotten better week to week.
Yeah.
I really believe so. I think that they've definitely grown. That position was, other than our wide receiver, was like the one group that was going to be the most scrutinized and was going to be the most like under the microscope of, we'll see how Coach Raiola actually does. I think that they definitely improved every week. I thought like the biggest takeaway, I'm going to piggyback on like Coach Rule and Coach McGuire and Coach Satterfield. Like, Malachi's blocking is just like unreal. Like, I love that him and Fedoni are the ones that love to just get into dudes' chests and just put you on the ground. I live by I learned this in high school. I live by the code as a wide receiver that if you don't block, you don't get the rock. Like, I know that's a name of a podcast out there. I can't remember the name of who hosts it. But that's something I teach my wide receiver staff and my tight ends. It's like, look, you might be the fastest dude on the field, but guess what? Like, if you don't block that corner, block that outside linebacker, that safety, you're not getting the ball. Like, I can't trust you.
And that's especially true with Nebraska and its offense. The offenses that are kind of inept and scoring a bunch of points, you're going to need your wide receivers to hit some blocks and do some other smaller things. Like, for example, 2019 LSU wide receivers, guarantee they weren't told to block probably ever. They didn't need to do it. So it's a different scenario. Obviously, when you get to the NFL, you will have to block eventually. But with all these freshmen out here who are still learning the game, our quarterback is still learning the game, I guess, you're going to have to do all the little things right if you want to succeed and score, because we're not the offense. We don't have the talent.
Yeah, kind of like you said, we have to. This is a game of inches.
We have to scheme. We can't rely on pure talent. We're going to have to scheme our way to points.
I agree 100%. Like, we have to win every single inch of this game, and it's kind of what Rule said a couple weeks ago. not going to be a pretty win, but a win's a win. Like, it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be very ugly, but we have to do what we have to do.
I loved the quote that he had, whereas we went from talking about ugly losses to ugly 33-14 wins.
Yep.
Or whatever that
yeah,
quote
that's
was.
what he said. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, that's not easy. Drop the mic, because I love that quote. I was like, hell yeah. Like, shut up to people who are saying that this was an ugly win. Like, we haven't seen us hit the 5-win mark in like 5 years. So
one thing that stood out for me from his post-game press and even like leading up to tomorrow's game is his quote of, "We want to put pressure on our guys, not take it off of them." Like, the old saying is, pressure makes diamonds. And I believe that, like, these freshmen, wide receivers, the people who are thrown into the fire essentially is coming out better. And kind of like how you and I talked about before we came on the air, of just long term, this is gonna help us in so many ways. Like, long term, this is gonna help us. Like, yeah, it sucks right now short term, but when we get down the line in 2025, 2026, 2027, where we're playing now USC, UCLA, Oregon, like these other schools that
you have to score on.
And now we have the, like, not having to worry about the blocking aspect of it, especially from a wide receiver tight end perspective, is going to be amazing. And it's like, all right, cool. I know you can block this corner and throw him on the bench. Go run a whip route for me. Go run a corner route. Go run a post route. Like, go run a flag route. Like, go run this amazing route now, because I don't have to worry about you not being able to do this part of your craft, which
or
is
just
blocking.
not knowing your assignment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
that's been an issue in past years, where I guess hesitant, scared, whatever you want to call it, to play the freshmen, when I can remember so many times in situations like, God damn it, put in a freshman, because
just do it.
They have playmakers on the bench that are just sitting there, or someone is not doing their job that's starting. And just, it got so political, and I'm glad that this year with our new coaching staff, if you know what you're doing and you're for the team and like you've proven yourself, you're going to play. I don't really care if you're a freshman or whatever.
Yeah, like, do you know the playbook? Yeah. Do you know your assignments? Do you know your reads? Do you know your keys? Yeah, cool. Get out there. Like, yeah. I love that. I love what you just said, honestly, because it tells me and it shows that the coaching staff literally believes in these kids.
Or believes in themselves that they can coach these kids.
Yeah. Like, I believe in myself I can coach someone. I mean, to what Matt Rule has said in the past, like, this is his most injured team he's ever coached his entire career. So the fact that your most, quote, injured team you've ever coached is a somehow 5-win team, that's a win in my book. I think this is a winning, like, not a winning season, but I believe that this is a step in the right direction for Nebraska as a whole program. I think that, say we don't go to a bowl game, cool. I still think that when we finish with 5 wins, that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. I think we will get to 6, but there'll definitely be some unhappy people if we don't get to 6, but it'll just take a little bit to swallow and forget, and then realize, like, all right, well, he basically didn't have any of his starters. This is his first year, like, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. But, I mean, with 3 games left and the teams that we're playing, especially...
We have Maryland, Iowa,
who can score, but is also susceptible to just getting blown out, and it's been proven by other teams and us the past couple years. This is the game that I think we can win, and I don't know how our psyche goes if we... Like, I don't know. Where do you think our psyche is? Like, do you think the players are thinking we just need one more? Or do they... I'm sure they probably tried to instill the mindset this whole week going into this game that...
I told you earlier this week when we were texting back and forth that, like, I think this is our toughest task to the year, to the date, of defending Maryland's passing regime. Like, Talia Tagovailoa is like a stud. I really do. But, like, yeah, it's Tua's brother, whatever. But Talia is a good passer, and they have a good passing scheme. Other than, like, the Michigan game, I really do believe that, like, this is going to be our toughest task to the year. I don't think Colorado was that big of a tough task to us. I just, like, yeah, cool. You have you literally built a whole new team and built a new scheme overnight, and it's hard to watch film on it. And it's hard to defend something like that. I get it, but look at where Colorado's at now. Anyways, had to just throw that subtle jab in there because I hate Colorado. But I think Michigan's passing offense is going to be tough to defend. I really do. But the last time I said it was Purdue, and we beat Purdue barely, but we beat Purdue. I hope that we have the same outcome. I really do. I just think like Talia Tagovailoa is like such a good passer.
Yeah, he's probably the best quarterback in the Big Ten with the not just flat out, but like the ability to extend plays. He's probably one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten when it comes to that. And Nebraska's kind of showing so far this year that they struggle with that. Quarterbacks that extend drives, extend plays, move with their feet, throw on the run, and that's kind of his MO. And so I trust Tony White. I think he was pissed 3 days after the game ended, and he was still pissed at his press conference on how he coached and how his players played. And so I think he's going to have him right. Like we don't have any injuries really on the deep. Like everyone's healthy and
everyone's healthy. We don't have fatigue. And
Deshaun Singleton, I think, is the only one that I can think of. That's
I will say, like, to that point of like fatigue and like no injuries, like that was the first thing that Coach White said during his press the other day. It was like, we're not hurt, we're not fatigued, like at all. Like we're fine. And I love how he's throwing that excuse out the window. It's like, oh, you guys are fatigued and it hurts. Like, no, we're not. We're fine. Like he said in the last couple drives of the game against the Michigan State, our defense showed who they really are, which that standard that they set. It's like, no, we can actually do this. Just our offense just turned the ball over again by a fumble.
Yeah, I mean, he also kind of took credit. He said that they went into the game trying to just keep Michigan State in front of them. They just wanted to play solid, safe defense because I'm assuming, just didn't think Michigan State was talented enough
to compete with like our speed
to just straight up beat us defensively, or talented enough offense to beat us. And he apologized for it right away. Like in his press conference, he said that's not the way that we play. We need to cut loose and be like want to be out there, take the ball away and just play with an edge. And he said that he's going to get that corrected. So I'm excited to see what they do against Maryland. But I agree, it's kind of a toss-up because Maryland's quarterback is definitely talented.
Yeah, dude, transition back to the offensive side of the ball. I think game planning for Maryland, obviously we talked about getting Malachi the ball more, and it's hard to get him the ball. I believe that a lot of teams are going to be double teaming him now, like just of his physique, his status, of his speed, and what he's able to do now, like is getting a little bit more exposure. So in my opinion, he's probably our wide receiver 1 right now.
Yeah, there's not really too many offensive players that you have to game plan for, unfortunately, with Nebraska. But I'd say as far as guys that catch the ball, Fedoni and Malachi Coleman are probably on the top list for opposing teams. Maybe you can throw Jaden Dawson there, but he's been kind of inconsistent recently.
Jalen Lloyd has had flashes in the pan kind of moments where it's just like, all right, he's a good drag route across, gets 15 yards, cool, here's a jet sweep, 10, like that's about it. But I also think that like Emmett Johnson needs to get the ball more.
Yeah, no, it's got to be a healthy dose of the run with sensible rotation, because the running back rotation as of late has been annoying, to say the least. Emmett Johnson, even though he's a freshman, has proven that he almost averages 4 or 6 yards a carry. He knows where the hole is and he hits it hard. And he has a high motor, and it doesn't seem like he needs to be taken off the field very much. And so if he's rolling, which he has been pretty much every time he's been in, keep him in. Against Maryland, I don't think you're going to need to take too many deep shots. I think if you just play your game and have a heavy dose of the run, it might open up a couple of those longer throws for Malachi. Or I think it's going to be a lot of over the middle to the tight end kind of day tomorrow. I think Borkature is going to have another a big day along with Thomas Fidone, the two tight ends.
I am not happy about Harburg not pitching the ball on the option play, dude. Like I understand like you got to read your defender, like you got to read that outside linebacker or the corner, whoever's attacking you. But there's some moments where he pitched it and he shouldn't have, or he should have and he didn't. It's like, dude, like it's almost something that you need to go like watch endless film of Georgia Tech and just or even Army or Navy, Air Force, and just watch endless clips of them running the option and just practice that constantly, like for you to get good at the option.
Yeah, we run a quarterback option, a RPO style offense, and our quarterback is not comfortable nor very good at doing the pitching. Um, Now, if he was bad at, he throws interceptions, so you can't say he's not. He is bad at creating turnovers. But as far as fumbling the football, you do trust him when he breaks out a run and he's got a couple of defenders coming towards his face. You trust his size and his weight and his ball security skills that he's not going to fumble that football. It's really the ones where he's got it in one hand on the run trying to make a play where he'll fumble it or just terrible reads with his passing skills. So I don't mind him not pitching it a bunch, but it's definitely, you can tell that it's causing a toll on his body. He's not, at least at the Michigan game, he was a little more decisive, less twitchy, and he just didn't seem like he had that explosiveness that he's had before. You just got to realize that he's been tackled more times than anyone else on the football team. So
That dude has taken so many hits.
he's a tough motherfucker, though.
They're saying that Kemp is probable. They're not going to play him. Like they're not going to start him by any means. But they said like it's a game time decision if like he's ready to go. And I know that Rule said that they're probably going to ease him into it. They're not just going to throw him in there, which I hope they don't do that. But also, I don't think that we need him. I really don't for this, not just for this game, but I don't say for the rest of the year either. But like, take that extra week to get healthy. Like, take the time you need to get healthy. It's fine. Like, keep doing your rehab, keep recovering, take the rest you need to get better, so you can come back for this Wisconsin Iowa game. Like, I don't know where the Big Ten West standing is at. I know that if we would have beat Michigan State,
we're one game back.
Okay. If we would have beat Michigan State, I know we were either like tied for the lead or we were in control of everything.
Yeah, it was like a 4-way tie going into the Michigan State game, and then after that loss, we're a game back because Minnesota beat. I don't know exactly. There's a whole bunch of things, but we're not out of the race, which is somewhat incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, incredible that we're not out of the race. Also, incredible how shitty this Big Ten West conference is. Everyone's like 3-4 in the conference. So
I also saw that like we do have a chance. I know that Minnesota plays Ohio State this week. So that's, I mean, Minnesota loses, we win. It's like, cool, we're up. But obviously, I don't see Minnesota beating Ohio State. If they do, that's incredible.
I'm safe to. I'll quit this podcast if they do.
I'll find a new co-host.
Yeah, even though Ohio State's been kind of sus this year on offense, they don't score as many as they definitely could. But no, they're a much better team than Minnesota. They're going to roll Minnesota, I believe. But
one final thing I want to bring up that came up in the press conference was Rule said that he is coaching Harburg to next season, meaning like, yeah, I'm coaching you in moment. I'm coaching you for the game that we have in the game plan essentially, but I'm also coaching you for next year, so you can come back and beat the guy still.
I think he knows. I mean, we don't know, but I think he has a good. Obviously, he doesn't know which quarterback he's going to take in the portal, which, by the way, they are going to have to.
Yeah, I agree.
But I believe internally they know what's going to happen after this year. They know Harburg is going to stick it out. He's a hometown kid. He wants to fight for this team. He's earned a right to fight for this team, and so he's going to stick it out. and almost, I would say almost for sure, the other two quarterbacks, Chuba and um, uh, Amigos,
Jeff Sims.
Jeff Sims.
Amiga. I like how that was the thing that caught my attention.
Yeah, no, those two are going to be gone. They'll have the ability to salvage their year of eligibility this year, for whatever reason it is that they don't want to attempt to try and fight for the position at quarterback against Heinrich Harburg. I don't really know, but yeah, no, Heinrich Harburg's in it for the long haul, and he's probably proven that and shown that to the coaches, and so they're not going to dismiss him because he's put in so much work and blood and sweat and tears into this program that
I
they're going
agree.
to give him a shot.
I think Jeff Sims enters the portal. I think that Jeff Sims was an experiment that went wrong. It is the way it is. Like, right, you have to take that chance. He came in, he got his money from Amigos.
Yeah,
still laugh at
and he's on the team still, so they're not going to admit it. But everyone knows, like, Matt Rule is going to have to swallow his words at the end of the season and say, "This project didn't work out. We thought we could fix him. I handpicked him. He was my guy. I followed him for his whole career. I felt like I could do something about it, and it, for whatever reason, didn't work out." So he's going to have to swallow and eat his words on that. And I don't think he's going to make too many. I think he's too good of a talent evaluator, talent recruiter to make that mistake again. I feel like it was almost an anomaly because I believe in Rule's ability to
coach
and to sniff out talent when maybe other schools haven't. And you've seen that recently. Some of these kids that we offer that don't have offers, immediately after Nebraska offers, other schools jump in and they're like, "Oh crap, if these guys are seeing something, like, that means that we can do something with this kid." Not just flattery, or what's the imitation is the best form of flattery, and that's kind of what they were talking about, and how other schools are picking off some of these underrated players that Nebraska's already scouted and recruited.
Yeah, so obviously, like we talked prior episodes of this, like Danny Kalen here at Bellevue West, who is almost a 5-star. I think he might be a 5-star. We'll see after this year.
Yeah, he's like a borderline.
Yeah, their season already ended. They got bounced by the number one team in the state handsomely, 42-0. Danny Kalen is a 4 to 5-star quarterback. He went to the Elite 11. He not won the Elite 11, but he was in the Elite 11 finals. So he's a top quarterback. Can't really deny it, but a dude that's really been on like Nebraska's recruiting trail, like that we are just heavily attacking, is that quarterback out of Algona High School in Iowa. He's a 3-star, but he's 2025. I mean, obviously he's a sophomore, but he might be. I'm not saying the guy. That's way too ahead. But say hypothetically, Sims leaves, Purdy somehow stays. Right, you still have Harburg and Purdy. Kalen's coming in. He'll probably compete with Purdy of just more of a accuracy aspect of the game. And then that Alex Mansky comes in the year after, and it's like at that point Harburg's already gone, and you have an open battle, unless that transfer portal quarterback that Rule brings in somehow just blows everybody out of the water. But I can't think of a dude right now that's just like the guy.
No, and no one's gonna know any of these transfer portal quarterbacks. I know the one name that's been on the list is the North Carolina State quarterback, NC State quarterback. He just announced that he's going to sit out the rest of the year and use his red shirt, which they've said is pretty much an indication that he's going to transfer. He did do an official visit to Nebraska. I can't remember his name right now, but he was on an official visit. He's had interest from Nebraska, and so he'll be a name that you keep a lookout for. But no one's going to really know who's going to be in that portal until the end of the season. As far as Daniel Kalen, I think, like, everyone's talking about Daniel Kalen, Anthony Rizak conversation. If you go and see a game where those two play and you say, "I need a quarterback to play for me tomorrow," which one are you going to pick? It's almost hands down that you're going to pick Anthony Rizak. Now, the reason that Nebraska hasn't recruited him and that they're high in on Daniel Kalen is because they're really talented at projection and seeing talent into the future. And so, if anyone's seen Daniel Kalen, you can tell that he has not hit puberty. He's not a grown man yet. He has no facial hair.
No,
He hasn't grown into his man body. Anthony Rizak probably hasn't either, but he's definitely more
he's more of a
slimmer build. But he's hit that puberty and he's closer. No one's at their ceiling in high school, but he is closer to his ceiling right now than a Daniel Kalen is to his ceiling. And I think the coaching staff, they're wanting to go in towards that pocket passer, pro style offense quarterback that also has an ability to run if need be, instead of a runner first and I can also play quarterback. I think Nebraska and the fans themselves are tired of seeing a athlete trying to play quarterback. And I think that's what they're doing with Daniel Kalen. They see a pure quarterback. But I mean, probably a year minimum to sit out and gain muscle, gain facial hair
yeah.
before he's ready for a Big Ten opponent. But no, I think just their skill at projection and coaching, I'm excited to see what they do with him because I think the ceiling is incredibly high for Daniel Kalen.
I agree. I mean, I am fortunate enough to work with a mom of the running back at Bellevue West. He is the JV starter backup to varsity at Bell West. So she gives me a lot of the insider stuff that goes on at Bell West, like coaching visits. Like I actually knew about Danny Kalen's commitment to Nebraska before he even like posted it, before he even like decommitted from Missouri. So I'm very fortunate enough to know about that. I will tell you too that Danny Kalen was never fully committed to Missouri. Like never. His plan was to go to Missouri and either see if they were going to start him as a freshman. And if they were, he was going to stay there, or give him an open competition. He was going to stay, and if they didn't, he was going to transfer back and walk on in Nebraska. Like that's how big of a Husker fan he is.
Yeah, I mean, he helped himself with that Elite 11 camp. That's when Nebraska offered him, was after that. And so he's always been a hometown kid. He wants to play um, for the Huskers and the team that he's been watching and growing up cheering for. And so you always want a player like that, especially someone with this high of talent that's that invested into your program, into the state. You want them on your team, no matter what their role is at first. And so that's probably just why um, they're so high in on him, is because he's so high in and on them. And then as far as transfer quarterbacks, I did hear it's not out of the realm of possibilities. Who knows what's going to happen as far as quarterbacks play goes for Nebraska? But Zane Flores did redshirt
From Oklahoma State.
At Oklahoma State, he redshirted, and it's not out of the realm of possibilities that he maybe comes over here and takes a visit or talks to Rule again. Who knows? He's had a year under
Big 12.
a Big 12, like Power 5, I would say. Oklahoma State football is good. And so he's had time to develop under there. And Oklahoma State's head coach has been there for like 20 years. And so, he's a really good coach. I can't remember what his name is.
Do with the mullet.
Yeah, he's got a mullet.
He's got a beautiful mullet.
But so who knows what's going to go with quarterback? They're gonna have to get one out of the portal, whether it's going to be a high sought after, high caliber quarterback, or if it's going to be someone closer to Heinrich Harburg's skill set and just skill in general, so they can create a quarterback competition, which I think is the most important thing in this offseason. I'm tired, and everyone's tired of getting a quarterback and handing them the keys at the beginning of the season, where there's no pressure on them to be the starter or to fight to be the starter, and then they have a rude awakening in the first couple games where they mess up and they get inboxes and messages full of people upset with them, and no one truly understands the weight that a Nebraska quarterback has until after they've played. And Adrian Martinez has talked about that. The after hours show with Jimmy Allen starts at 6:00, 6:15. The past week, they've had Adrian Martinez on with them, talking football and talking some of the Big 12 experiences that they've had. And I had a chance to listen to a little bit of that today, and I mean, reiterated and pretty much I already knew on how difficult it is to be a quarterback here. Not just, you know,
I feel like
you got to deliver in so many different
yeah,
areas.
like I've obviously like the quarterback is the one that's going to be under the most microscope and the most scrutiny. But I think I would just say like being a college athlete that is like a starter. I think a star like I feel like the state backs the volleyball girls so much, and like rightfully so, we're the number one team in the country. But like, what if we lose tomorrow? I don't know if we have a game tomorrow, but like, what if we lose a match tomorrow or Sunday? Like, will people send them death threats? Like, as much as they send a football player?
No, football's on a whole nother scale here. It's kind of, and no one know like you can say it so many times, but no one truly understands it unless you're a player or you've been a fan for so long. Just like how much it means to people here because they, like I said, just don't have really anything else. You can cheer for the Chiefs, you can cheer for the Cubs or the Royals, but like that's as close as you get to professional sports. And Nebraska's really the closest thing that you have here in the state of Nebraska. People travel 4 hours
Yeah,
just to come see a game, and so people,
90,000 plus
yeah,
every home game.
and so you just want to make sure you put a good product out on the field, and Matt Rule's definitely done that, and I trust what they're doing. So
I agree. Ready to talk some basketball?
yes, sir. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One big thing that I noticed going into the season was the exhibition game when Casey like sprained his ankle. I mean, people were like, "Oh, he broke his leg." It's like, dude, he was in a walking boot for a day. But I
yep,
am very thankful that and very happy that it was not like a break because his ankle was sideways.
yeah. It did not look good at all. It was completely parallel to the floor, but like you said, it was off in a day. It just had some swelling and uncomfortableness from what we've heard, and they're gonna play it safe with Casey because the Big Ten basketball season and the Big Ten especially is so grueling. You play basically every other day, every third day against a team that's going to be ranked in the top 25 um, almost every day for the Big Ten. So you want to make sure that your best player is going to be healthy, and so you don't need him for Lindenwood. You don't need him for Florida A&M or Ryder. Like they said that they might have him in there for Ryder, which is on Monday, and the only reason that they'd want him to play is because he has yet to play in the starting lineup with everyone. We've yet to have our complete complement of players with Juwan Gary for a team suspension for something, and then Casey with his ankle. And so Monday is potentially the first time that we could see all of our projected starters playing together and see what that officially looks like. Because one, that's good for us as fans to see that, but two, it's more important for the coach and the players to actually play together. Your projected starting lineup, the one that you're going to go through the whole season with, and so um, yeah, I mean, you might see him for he'll have limited minutes if he does play on Monday against Ryder, 5 to 10, I would assume, but that's just going to be a get to feel for the starting five and how they kind of play together. But I'll tell you this: without two of our projected five starting players, we look very good. Uh, we don't have the we can't score 105 points a game like Creighton kind of has the ability to. But our height, our athleticism, our players 1 through 5 being able to shoot the three, our spread offense. Um, yeah, I'm super excited. We don't really have the only position that we might struggle with is the center, and that's only when we get into the thick of it in the Big Ten. And so,
We do play Creighton next week on the 15th, the Wednesday.
or you mean we play the third, December 3rd? We play Creighton, Nebraska basketball, please.
Dude, am I like way off with my schedule?
I think so.
Probably.
We play Ryder and then like Stony Brook and then Oregon State.
Yeah. Wow. Stony Brook. Why did I say Creighton? Oh, because you were just talking about Creighton. Yeah, Stony Brook. Because you and I were watching the Stony Brook game together the other night. Or yeah, the Stony Brook basketball game the other night
Yeah.
together. Um, I think honestly, like the state, I would say the state of Nebraska is split between you're either a Creighton fan or you're a Nebraska basketball fan. I will say the Creighton Blue Jay fans are taking over more of the state because they're a better team. I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah.
But
Now they've been ranked for it's been like what 3 straight years now. They've been in the top 25, and so that's only going to make your fan base grow. Whether they are a bunch of old farts that wear
zip
sweater
ups.
vests and shit like that. But
I will say though, last year when we beat them and Iowa twice, I didn't even care if we lost every other game. It's like when Hoiberg won the Iowa game when we were at that game, that was electric. And then when we beat Creighton, it was even better. And I know we beat Iowa in Iowa City, like that was amazing. And it was just like a, I wouldn't say a great send off of the year, but at the same time, like it made like true Nebraska basketball fans like, dude, I don't care. Like I don't care if we lost every other game this year. We just beat the two teams that we like hate.
yeah, that is definitely one of the more.
It's a morality win.
It's one of the. It's the only really game in the season where everyone is on kind of pins and needles, no matter where either team is at, um, skill wise or like ranking wise or whatever. It's always going to be heated, and um, the players know that they can't. It's almost impossible for them to not know the like not anger, but like just the intensity of this rivalry. Um, they know that their fans hate their fans, and that their fans hate their fan, like vice versa. Like they all hate each other. Um, and so it's a big game, and it means a lot to the people. And having Nebraska win last year, even though Creighton did make it to the Elite Eight, like beating an Elite Eight team and just having that under your belt for a full year, having bragging rights to your business partners, your office mates, your friends or whatever, your family or whatever, like that's a big deal to the people of Nebraska, the diehard Nebraska basketball
I also think
fans.
too it was like kind of a feather in Hoiberg's cap. Like, hey, you just beat an Elite Eight team. Like, obviously Hoiberg is known for developing players, being a defensive minded coach, um, and I think definitely like the Creighton game and the Iowa games, we were out muscling them in my opinion. Like, I felt like who was our center last year?
Caleb Walker, Derek Walker.
Derek Walker. I almost said Derek Lewis, not the fighter. Derek Walker bullied Creighton in the paint.
Yeah, Colt Brenner. He didn't stand a chance. And they'll be like, "Oh, he had mono." Well, he played the entire game and he got his ass kicked. So I don't really care what the excuse is.
Yeah, that's how is mono stopping? Like,
I
oh
don't know,
my
but
god, dude.
so Creighton, I would say straight up a team versus team shooting, which kind of is surprising because this is the best 3-point shooting team Nebraska's ever had, probably in its history. Um, but straight up just shooting, Creighton is probably a little bit better. But I watched Creighton's game against Florida A&M, who we just beat the other day, and I can promise you, Nebraska is a more athletic team. Now, as far as like basketball skills and just like team cohesion, like some of those smaller things, I don't know. I think it's going to be a good game between Nebraska and Creighton on December 3rd, but watching their team and watching our team now, we have the more athletic team. So if we come in ready to fight and we come in with a higher energy and want it more than they do, there's absolutely no, and this isn't just wishful thinking as a Nebraska basketball fan, there's no way that we have a chance of winning that game
I
like
agree.
again this year.
I agree. I think if you're Hoiberg, I think you, especially leading up to that game, obviously you take care of business as the teams come along. But I think that week of the game,
There's a potential that both teams will be undefeated going into that because we play
pretty easy
we
teams.
play yeah, we play Stony Brook and Oregon State and Fullerton or something like that. So all those teams are over like 100, 150 in the RPI. So they're not good teams. So the potential of both in-state teams being undefeated going into that game December 3rd before conference kicks off for both squads, like it's going to be a huge, huge, huge game.
What I was say was I believe that Hoiberg will get those guys right, like mentality wise, meaning getting them like just to be angry, like just to play violent, kind of like what football does. Like you play violent, RDV, like you be aggressive, you know, don't take no shit from Creighton. Like I think that is what separates Nebraska from Creighton from an outside perspective looking in. Like just the toughness, not mental toughness, just the physicality of Nebraska centers, power forwards, small forwards, everybody against Creighton. Like Creighton might have a better better shooters, whatever, but we are just going to forcefully bully you. And I think that's what is will be the difference of that game.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's gonna be a good game. I don't know who. I can't really make a good prediction either way. But we have players that fight, that have high motors and want to defend and want to play for the program. Like a couple of the in-state guys, especially Josiah Alec, like he's gonna make sure that anyone that hasn't been on the team from last year, he's gonna know how much this game means to everyone in the state. And so they're gonna be ready. It's gonna be fired up. There's gonna be probably some screaming and cursing and fighting in the stands like there always is every year. Just these two teams do not like each other. So, and I know my stepdad, he refuses to go to any Nebraska Creighton games because he's worried for his health. It hurts his heart. Like he doesn't, he'll watch the game at home and that's about it. And he might take some breaks from watching it at home. Otherwise, he's at almost every game. So it's a big deal.
I wish that for his health, don't go to a Creighton Nebraska game.
Yeah.
Like, just don't do it. Like, Nate, we love you. Don't do it. Just don't take that chance. Don't take that risk in any way. Um, I do. Like, I'm excited to see the season. I'm excited to see obviously the game tomorrow. Like you and I are watching the game tomorrow. Should be a good game. I think we're both pretty excited about this game. I personally did not care too much about the Michigan State last game last week. Didn't really have any like eagerness going into it, but pretty pumped, Jesus, about this game. Tomorrow, get to actually sit down and watch it for the first time in 3 weeks. So
Yeah, we've proven that we bounce back pretty well. So, I mean, after we got our shit rocked against Michigan, we came back and we looked pretty good against whoever we played after that. And so I'm expecting kind of the same thing with like kind of a thudder against Michigan State, especially at home coming here for bowl eligibility. Like I think we're going to be fired up.
I agree. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys for listening to this episode. We appreciate you guys. Share, like, subscribe, tell everybody, tell your dog, tell your friends, tell everybody to give us a listen. And more importantly, stay fresh, stay frosty, stay crispy. Luke, you got anything else for the people?
Nope, we'll go ahead and review the game after tomorrow at some point later in the week. Um, Probably potentially also review the Nebraska Rider game from Monday. And yeah, we'll probably in a couple days we'll see you guys.
See you guys later.